you were incredibly consistent
Mm-hmm.
throughout your career. 20 years in the big leagues, that's an achievement. You had a career 280 batting average,
Mm-hmm.
435 home runs. So you really excelled as a contact hitter, getting on base, stealing bases, 300 over 300 stolen bases, and also with the power.
Yeah.
Right? 435 home runs and a guy that bats 280.
Mm-hmm.
That's difficult to do. When you think about that and the longevity of that, and how later in your career maybe you had to adapt your swing or your mentality, how did you approach that? As maybe you saw power start to taper off in the last 5-10 years, and you focus on getting on base, like how do you change your mentality and know when to adjust your swing and your approach at the plate?
Yeah, for me, I have to say that at the beginning of my career as a ball player, you don't know what you're capable of because you're trying to figure out the league. You're trying to figure out who you are as a player. So those, I would say 3 or 4 years, I was kind of like finding out of what type of player I could be if I continue to do what I'm doing at the moment where I was playing. So those first 4 years, it kind of gave me an idea that I knew that I could impact the game on the base path. I knew that I could impact the game defensively. I always aimed to be a better hitter because I always thought like, man, you know what? If I could be like a 300 hitter and driving me 100 and score 100, now I'm separating myself from a group of guys, and now I could be looked as a consistent or elite player in the league. So that was basically my mentality. And how you are capable of accomplishing that, that comes with, getting to the ballpark early every day, working on your craft. I spent a lot of time in the cage being a switch hitter. So I needed to spend half of the time from the right side, half of the time from the left side. I spent a lot of time reaching out to a lot of, players that I felt that were doing things special in the game. So I never was limited to reach out to somebody that was doing something better than me. So, I always felt like when I had this opportunity, it was an opportunity for me to learn something new, that hopefully maybe add something new to my game. And a lot of times, those conversations led me to new approaches at the plate, new drills in the cage. And with time, watching the films, going to the video room, I studied myself in the time where I was being successful. Also studying myself in the moments where I was struggling, being realistic, right, to the game, because the game is super overwhelming, right? Like you mentioned, 280 guy, but I failed 72% of the time.
Right.
So 72% of the time, I was walking back to the dugout. Maybe a strikeout, a ground out, a double play, or whatever.
Well, 65%, because you had a 350 on base percentage.
Well,
so you found your way sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. But what I'm saying is you're gonna encounter a lot of negativity in the game, and that's why, as a player, and you need to apply this in life, there's always room to improve. There's always room to add positive things to our life. And surround yourself with people that empower you to be better, encourage you to make adjustments. So I was never afraid to make adjustments. I always felt like, I need to. Every year I felt like I was always searching how it could be better. Like I did my own evaluation on the year that I had, what area I could be better, which area I can really improve, which other areas maybe I should not be focusing on because this is not putting me into this is not giving me value. So for me, as an example, I remember after my 5th year in the big leagues, a lot of veteran guys used to reach out to me and tell me, Carlos, you know what? If you focus more on hitting the ball to the opposite field, you know what? I think you could be a better player, better hitter. There's a lot of hits that way. So what Carlos did was Carlos went to the off season and started working on that pitch, start working on hitting the ball to left field. So, and what happened to Carlos was that Carlos was a 10, pulling the ball hitting the ball to the middle, and maybe at 3, hitting the ball to opposite field. So Carlos spent all his time working into opposite field. From 3, I got to 5, which is not a lot of improvement. And from 10, pulling the ball, and from 10, hitting the ball to the middle, I went from 10 to 7, and from 10 to 7. So now what happened to Carlos was Carlos decreased his game by focusing on his weaknesses. So I learned kind of like in my 5th year of my career, and I said, you know what? I need to get back to what got me to where I am today. I need to work on my strength, and my strength was pulling the ball. So, and once you embrace your strength, there's no look back. There's adjustment that you might need to make because you get older in the game. I got to the big league when I was 21, retired when I was 40. So, I mean, and I have two phases of my career. My first 10 years, where your youth is there, and your next 10, and now you're better. You're better, and your knowledge, it kind of plays out.
And that's what, like, when I think of 20 years in the major leagues, that's a long tenure. It reminds me of guys like like Edgar Martinez, another guy who early in his career with the Mariners, he mashed the ball. He would put the ball over the fence in the gap, and he was pretty quick too. And later in his career, he learned how to adapt and stay focused. He was very good. Watching him in Seattle, very good at picking his pitches to hit. Like you said, looking for your strength, especially in regards to the strike zone itself.
Yeah.
So when you then think about doing that over the course of 20 years, and then you take a step in each one of those moments, what happens in the postseason? Because the postseason is a completely different experience.
Yeah.
I've never been in it, but I've been to some postseason games. But there's a lot of pressure in those moments. You have over a career 300 batting average in the postseason, 16 home runs. Mentally, did you approach that different, or did you have to prepare your mind in a different way to thrive on the biggest stage in the biggest moments?
Well, I have to say that my first experience when I got traded from Kansas City to the Astros, that was my first moment in the playoffs, right? And I got to be able to join a team where Craig Biggio was there, Jeff Bagwell, Jeff Kent, Andy Petty, Roy Clemens. Like, there was a group of veteran guys. So I was like kind of like the puppy, just getting into this group of superstar. So I remember that experiencing that first moment in the playoff, I was thinking I had a good series with the Astros, and finished my year there with real good numbers. But I was thinking, okay, now we're going to the playoffs. Like, I don't have one game in the playoffs, so I don't know what to look for. I don't know what are the emotions that I'm going to feel. I don't know if I'm gonna get caught up in trying too hard to try to carry the team. Like, I didn't know. And I remember a conversation with Greg Biggio in the clubhouse. Greg come to me and say, "Hey, brother, go out, have fun. These moments doesn't happen all the time. This moment doesn't happen to everybody. The fact that you are experiencing this moment, just have fun, man. Just go out and do exactly what you just did for us in the regular season. Don't try to do more. Just do exactly the same." And actually, he said, there's going to be an energy, incredible energy, but you know what? He said, "Carlos, just be you, man. Just be you. Don't try to carry us. Let me do my part. Let Baggy do his part. Let Ken do his part, and you just do yours. Just go out." And brother, for me, that little conversation took so much pressure, because I was like, I didn't know what to expect. So now this veteran guy is telling me, just go out, have fun. Forget about it, bro. Whatever happens. So I'm thinking, okay, so there's nothing to worry about it here. So I went out there. Oh my God, you know what? I got into a rhythm where I was seeing the ball extremely well. Every contact that I made, it was hard. I got on base a lot. I was able to help the team, and that first experience was kind of like the therapy that I used to give myself every time that I was positioned and to be in the playoffs. I remember when I went to the playoff with St. Louis, with the Mets, a little bit with the Yankees, and even though in the teams that I played with, every time that I used to go out there and play the game, I say, you know what, just go out there and just do your thing. You don't have to do anything else. So that mentality really allowed me to calm myself, being able to control my emotions, and being able to focus in the moment and not in the big picture. I need to focus in the moment.
So, do you take that approach if you're in the cage, for example, working, right? Mm-hmm. As a major leaguer, you get the opportunity to go hit on the field outside. But when you're in the cage working, and even with your students now, mm-hmm. do you try to replicate situations of pressure, or do you try to have them focus on having fun? Like, how would you prepare a team to go to the playoffs themselves? Like, let's say one of your academy teams is going on for a big tournament.
There's got to be the two phases that you mentioned. Okay. There's got to be the fun part, okay. and there's got to be the concentration part. Okay. Both are valuable because baseball is still a game. Mm-hmm. It's a kid's game. Like when you grew up playing the game, you go to the ballpark just to play, right? And then a lot of times when you become professional, now we add different layers in ourselves, thinking now, oh, it's a business. Oh, now it's my career, and it is your career, but it's still a game. So, and it's a game that should be fun. It's a game that we're going to face adversity. It's a game that we might play 3 or 4 games, and we might go for 4 those 4 games. But you know what? You could go out there and play good defense for the team and help the team. There's always a room and a space where you could contribute to your team without really experiencing the results that people are always looking for. Oh, the base hit, the game-winning double, or the home run. No, a lot of times, by sharing your teammates, by patting your teammates on the back that is going through a tough time. Like we have to, more than being a good player, myself, when I was playing, I wanted to be the best teammate I could be for my teammates. Because you know why? Because that was important. Because I knew that the everyday preparation to play the game, I was going to control that. I know I was going to control that. But at the same time, the influence of my results on the field also can affect my emotions as a person. So if I'm going 0 for 4 and I become a prick in the bench, right? And then I'm not being a good teammate.
It transfers.
Exactly. So I need to learn how to go 0 for 4 and still encourage my teammates and support my teammates when they're going through a tough time, because it's beautiful when you go 4 for 4. You know what? It's beautiful. But in the game of baseball, it doesn't happen like that. So I wanted to be the best teammate possible. I wanted to be there for you, and I honestly, man, I took it to my heart. If you win and struggle, your struggle is my struggle, my man. Because I care.
You want to be there.
I care because I know you're going through tough times that that in the season I might go through also. When you play in the game, we're carrying a lot of things. When you have family, let's say you have a family member, a mom or a dad that is going through a situation in life, right? That we don't want them to go through, but all of a sudden you got to show up and perform. But your body's there, but your mind is not there. So how as a teammate I can be aware of your situations and my teammates' situations and be a support? I took pride into that. So for me, I retired from the game of baseball 5 years ago, and what I have built in the game of baseball more than my numbers is relationships. I have a great group of people that support me, great group of people that if I reach out to them, they're going to answer, people that I could be living in my house and they call me, hey, how you doing, Carlos? And to me, that's more valuable than All-Star games.
Yeah.
Any award that you could win in the game, I think it's the relationship that you could build in the game.
And that's what, like, I didn't play in the major leagues, but that's, I played in college, and that's what I remember is you have the relationships that last forever, but you remember the times in the dugout with the team,
yes,
in the clubhouse, on the plane or on the bus ride. Those are the times where
those are the best times.
That's
man.
What you remember the most as you get further and further away.
And like we were talking early, like now I'm working with the Mets as an advisor to the GM, and it's a job that allows me to be active, but at the same time allow me to be with my family, and in the time that you're away from the game, you miss those moments, right? And now me being able to work with the Mets, some of the things that I was missing now, I get to connect with the players. I get to relate to the players. I get to share with them the things that I went through, the things that they're going through, and we speak the same language. A lot of times, some of the guys that are new, that they are getting to the big leagues, were not players that I played with. Right? So how I can connect with that player, where that player sees me as an ally, where I'm connecting in a personal way and not in baseball. You understand? Because baseball is just a game, like I'm telling you. Like it's relationships. So for me, my job with the Mets, even though I have things that I need to do for the organization, but most importantly, it's like I know how to connect with the players. I know how to reach out to them. I know the timing of what is a good timing, because
of when to say something,
when not to.
Yeah.
Exactly. And those are huge in order for people to see you as you know what, I really like this guy because this guy kind of knows how to read people. So,
it sounds like you are a manager. You sound like a major league manager. You can handle those relationships. You can bring people together. And it's obvious to me the passion comes, right out of your words and your body language about this. Mm-hmm. So I see that passion, and it makes a lot of sense why, for example, we're here at the Carlos Beltrán Baseball Academy in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Right? This is a passion project to you.
Sure.
And what I want to know is, what was your motivation for starting this academy right here in Puerto Rico, where you're from, and bringing that passion that you just exuded to the kids here?
Well, the motivation was to basically think about my life. I thought about my life when I was growing up, and I thought about the opportunity that God gave me throughout the game, and the things that I faced and I encountered when I was in the minor league system growing up. Graduating from high school in Puerto Rico, going to Florida, Fort Myers, my first year there, not speaking the language, like not understanding the culture, and now all of a sudden I'm in a different world.
Yeah.
World meaning like, I don't understand what is happening completely. All I know is that I signed for this. All I know is that I came here to play the game. I came here to produce, play the game, and hopefully continue to build into a big leaguer, right? Which a lot of times we don't know. But to me, that experience of the things that I went through, when I was able to, go through the process and get to the big leagues, and I was able to get my contract with the Mets, I mentioned to my wife, and I said, you know what, I feel like I want to do something that it could impact and benefit many, many kids. So, and I thought about a high school because academics is something that is important. But I think, you know what, if I build a high school that we can specialize in baseball, I believe that this could be good. And I believe little Carlos Beltrán would have really benefit from this project, meaning going to that school, learning the education, learning the language, preparing myself for what is ahead. So I thought about little Carlos. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because little Carlos did not grow up with, a beautiful campus, classrooms where, all the subjects are taught, a beautiful private baseball field out there, gorgeous batting cages with new technology such as the HitTrax system. Little Carlos didn't have those things.
Exactly.
Right? So when you see this campus and you see what you're able to offer to the kids, how does that differ from the way you grew up playing the game of baseball here in Puerto Rico when you were a kid?
Well, for me, and I try to create conscious to the guys that come here and study, I told them, man, you guys are privileged.
Yeah.
You guys are privileged. And this privilege that you guys have, you have to make sure that you basically take every opportunity given to you, right, to growth as a student and as an athlete, right? We as an academy, we try to provide all the resources possible, right, for them to continue to develop, right? Because, like I mentioned earlier, right, God gave me the opportunity to play the game, but at the same time, we need to be a relevant academy, right, connecting with this generation of kids, right, that they have different necessities than the one that I needed, but at the same time, our necessities that we need to provide for them to feel, right, as an academy. So we're proud of every student that have come through this academy. We're proud of the people that work here. We have a philosophy that we need to be positive in this academy. We allow the game to take care of the negative. We cannot be negative. We need to be positive. We need to empower, encourage, and make them believe that man, you know what? Good opportunities are gonna come if you continue to work hard, to take care of your education. The thing that we have seen in this academy that to me is like very fascinating is that how the students that come here, because they think about baseball, when they come here, a lot of times their GPA is not their best GPA, but when we get to see that they are capable of elevating their GPA to become, good student just because they're doing what they love, playing baseball. So what this space does is just that it has created a legitimate opportunity for kids to say, you know what, I'm not a bad student.
Yeah.
I'm a good student doing what I love to do, playing the game. So it's fascinating. And the people that have graduated from here, like I mentioned earlier, we have doctors that have graduated from the academy, lawyers, engineers, good human beings. And to me, what we focus in this academy and what give me the most proud is how humble the students are in this academy. I believe that the best value that we can have as human beings is humbleness. Mm-hmm. Humble. If you're humble, it's easy to relate.
And that's your confidence.
And to me, when you're humble, it's because you believe so much in you that you don't need to show off.
Yeah.
You don't need to show off what I have or what I can do. Just my humbleness will take care of everything else.
Yeah. Well, it showed in the students that we had hitting in the cage. They were humble. They were also, when we were training, we were working on the video analysis, they were focused. When we played the game, they were having fun. I feel just from that 1 to 2 hour interaction that they, portrayed the, the morals that you want the academy to have. So
Sure.
I've seen that directly.
No, and I think this new technology, what is going to bring to our academy is an opportunity for the athletes and the students to study themselves, right? To make their own adjustments while they're hitting, while they're looking at themselves on the replay, while they see the exit velocity, the launch angle. All those things are valued. All those things are important, these days in the game of baseball. That's why you see many organizations investing millions of dollars, right, in this technology, because they believe that if you can make their hitters or pitchers these days to have a better sense of what they're doing and make adjustments on the fly, man, that's a beauty. Yep. A lot of times, and even in the early years when I play, sometimes you go 0 for 4 and and sometimes you don't get to find out what costs you for you to not to put quality at bats. But now in the big leagues, you could look at your first at bat, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know what I need to do in order. And now what happened is like you give yourself a chance to be to compete, you're at a right level and a consistent basis. So I think this technology will allow our kids to make good adjustments. It's going to prepare them for what is ahead, which is a beautiful thing, right? Because a lot of college baseball, a lot of professional teams, they believe in this technology, and if we could expose our students to familiarize themselves with the technology, when the opportunity comes for you to face or to see yourself in that position, it's not overwhelming. It's like, oh no, I know how to work with this, so I know how to deal with this. So and I think it's going to be beautiful for the students. So I'm very excited for them.
I love to hear it. I think you're right. When we talked about learning who you are as a hitter, learning yourself, something like this can help speed that process up, because it's something you had to do, yourself. You work obviously with a bunch of great coaches throughout your career, and your coaching staff here is phenomenal too. Yeah. And they can, together with this information and this feedback and the morals that the students have, accelerate that growth. And I think that's what I've seen too.
Yeah, and it's going to be positive. I 100% is like, I don't see any downside. All I see is an upside, meaning like opportunity. They're going to grow faster. They're going to make adjustment faster. They're going to know everyone is accept feedback. Everyone is different, right? Like I'm visual. So with the technology, they're gonna be able to see themselves, where my head went, where my body went, where my angle of the bat went, by me not being able to do things right. So where I'm making contact, do I making contact too far out? Do I letting the ball travel too much? So those are the little details that, if you're aware, 100%, I mean, they're gonna be better, and they're gonna be able to pick it up faster, and the results are going to show up in the field, and that's what we're looking for.
I love it. Well, I have one last question for you. Just, sure. We're at the academy here in Puerto Rico, right? You grew up in Puerto Rico. You represented your country in the World Baseball Classic as well. I want to know, just personally, what does it mean to you in 2013 when you won the Roberto Clemente Award, a legend in Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
A large part because of this academy and your foundation. What did it mean to you to receive that award in the name of, like I said, one of the most legendary Puerto Ricans of all time?
Oh, it was very emotional. I gotta say, it was very emotional because Vera Clemente was there, and I remember she kind of like pat me in the back and kind of went to my ear and say, you know what, Carlos, Roberto Clemente right now, he's gotta be looking down to you and saying that he's proud of you. And to me, I was like, man, you know what, that's crazy, and I never thought about it, honestly. All this academy and all the things that we do for the community and all the things that we have done in the places that I play baseball, my wife and I, we do it because we feel it's important to give back. Because if God is giving you a platform and you're not using that platform to influence in a positive way in the community, I think we're missing out, right? And to me, that was very important. And I think it has to do a lot with the influence of Roberto Clemente in Puerto Rico, right? I never got the chance to watch him play, but there's so many books, there's so many people that were around Roberto that I have been able to meet, and they tell me the stories and how philanthropic he was, and how much he cared about humanity, teammates, people around. So when I look at Carlos, I look a little bit of Roberto, because he influenced my career, even though I never got the chance to watch him play, just by reading from him, hearing from him, and and if you hear somebody, right, that as Roberto, who was very influential in the game, very good player, good person, stood up for players' right, all those things, and you are playing in the same level field, right, that he played, and it motivates you to you also to stand up for players' right. And one of the things, right, when I remember 2015 when I was with the Yankees, the Latinos didn't have a translator. We didn't have the translator.
Really?
So when that happened, that was me reaching out to Major League Baseball and reaching out to Players Association, saying that we needed a translator as a Latino, right? Because a lot of times we don't speak the language. We try. We could go out there and try, but that could give the Latino players a better opportunity for express themselves, right, without limitations, right? Understanding that the translator will go out there and translate what he feels in his heart at that moment, and at the same time, it will avoid misunderstanding,
right,
misinterpretation, right? That a lot of times you could see happen. So Roberto Clemente, in a way, he was a guy who stood up for players' rights, and in that moment where I was with the Yankees in the platform that I have, I told myself, you know what, I need to pursue these and see if they could make it. What happened? Major League Baseball did it. It created 30 new jobs in baseball. It created a better opportunity for players to connect, right? Because now there's somebody. And let me tell you, this happened because I was in spring training, big league camp. The manager is doing an important meeting. The GM is talking an important message. And I have a group of Latinos to my left and to my right. And at the end of the meeting, I asked them, hey, my man, do you understand what the manager said? Do you understand what the GM said? And they all went like, no.
And that's important information.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And we have Ichiro Suzuki, who had a translator.
Right. Yep.
We had Kuroda, who had a translator. And we had another Oriental guy, Japanese guy, who had another translator. So we had three Japanese with an individual translator. And I'm thinking, man, people assume that because we come from Latin America or people come from Puerto Rico, the norm is that we should speak English. And no, the language in Puerto Rico is Spanish. The language in all these countries is Spanish. So after that day, I said, no, man, I need to reach out. And man, it happened so quickly. And I was like, man, you know what? This is good. This is positive. And now when I see a player having a great game and doing an interview with a translator, I was like, beautiful. Why? Because now that kid have an opportunity to express himself from his heart in his language, right? And people will perceive that player different, right? Because he's just speaking from his heart. So anyway, so Roberto is the man in our land, and doesn't matter what every player could do. We always are going to land second place, because Roberto is our motivation and our role model that influence and continue, which is like amazing that so many years have passed and he continued to influence and still alive in our hearts.
Well, I think from what I've seen, you've done an amazing job of continuing that tradition, and we talked about the morals. I think you have, portrayed that in your career, moving on now as a mentor, passing along to your staff and here as the students that are growing up, the youth of Puerto Rico. So even though you may be second place, I think it's a pretty good second place. No, I appreciate your time.
It is good. Thank you. And I appreciate you too. And honestly, just, grateful that you guys are here Grateful that we are going to be able to benefit from, your technology. Grateful that our kids are going to have another resource of continuing to get better. And there's no doubt that, they're not here to say thank you, right? But I'll say thank you on their behalf.
Well, we're excited to be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.